Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus3 Futures and Commodities Show. We are recording half an hour after the close on Friday, the 25th of October. And on today's show, we're going to expand on the theme from the last midweek update, which is change. Cycles came in, timing cycles, Rebel Yell cycle. We've seen evidence of change in the markets and not just the S&P in various markets. And on today's show, we're going to dive in, look at that, examine it, and assess the odds and say, what does it mean going forward? My name's Ben Maldonado. As always, I'm here with my partner, Barry Hederachi. Barry, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
And how did this week of change treat you?
Pretty well, actually. To be honest with it.
It's good for the trader that knows the levels. Change and volatility is good. So without any further delay, let's dive into it.
All
I
right.
see the S&P there where we've been banging on the 90 for a while and maybe even gave it a kiss goodbye today.
Yeah, well, let's see. Well, of course, we
Yeah,
got the weekend. Now we have to wait around, find out what
right,
happens.
right.
The 90, banging around the 90 you mentioned. I mean, we've been here almost a little too long. First it was anticipation of going there, and now then we're there, and now we're still there. It's
Hmm.
like, okay.
Hmm.
We often talk about settling above it or below it. That's kind of where we left it last time. We couldn't quite settle above it. Obviously, if you looked at yesterday's little consolidation, we couldn't. We were clearly consolidating below it, and today we basically most of the action was below, right? Open and the close.
Yeah, and we made a
So
we made a big push to try and get above and failed.
yeah, there was a good push in both markets and actually all the markets, and it just couldn't. This one S&P couldn't quite do it. So I think going forward, we have to treat this like a lower high until otherwise. I
Hmm.
think that's a very practical way to handle this. Also, if you notice, we're above the one by one. Now, one of the things is if we're shaving this close to the one by one, and we also had timing at the top, breaking the one by one is a clear sign of a change of character.
Absolutely.
And last couple of weeks we've been talking about change of character and the different cycles that expired. Not that after a cycle expires, everything happens on the next day. Then there's a painful uh, price action that has to be there until it's all done.
Hmm.
Painful in the sense that if you're waiting for something to happen, right, to point out the high. That's where we are with the cash, and we'll look at a number of different markets and from a couple of different perspectives, so we get clear about the whole thing.
One
One thing
one
that
thing real quick, Barry, that
uh-huh.
for new viewers, the old viewers know that this is what we look for, right? We look for a high, we look for the first move, and then the counter trend, right?
Yeah,
And if we take out the low, or today's low on Monday, that means we got a one bar counter trend.
right, very strong, very good one.
Yeah. And that
So
that means we have, potential to catch that fast moving next wave.
mhm.
So time to pay attention really close.
Absolutely. And the pieces are starting to fall together, coming together. And I didn't mean to say painful. I meant to say the dragged out, the drama of waiting for something to happen. And the
Right.
reason I say that is because of all this, just waiting and waiting, up a little, down a little, up a little, down a little, right?
Right.
And kind of like what we had to live through this consolidation and this one.
Yeah.
Very similar, if you notice. So there's some larger pattern at work if you notice the quick pumps and then a big consolidation. And will it happen again? Well, we'll see. There's a little bit of a change here from the other two.
Hmm.
All right, so that's kind of what we have for the cash. Let's take a quick look at the.
Futures.
This is the futures. This is the continuation chart.
Look at
Um,
where they closed it.
yeah, right on the line.
Right on the
on
line.
this one. On this one, let's see where it
Uh-huh.
is on the futures chart. Yeah, there we go.
Uh-huh.
That one's a little bit below. It's a
Yep.
little different spot.
Yeah.
So we've been using this one because it's a D's contract and we don't have that little gap that the continuation has. Either way, it's fine. So here, I think the 90 is very clear what's happening. 58.92 was the level we went with. And you can see how we basically hit the level and stalled out, right, Ben? I mean, this is really
Yeah.
like running out of gas.
And just to be clear for everyone, this is the December contract, not the continuous.
Yes, this is the December contract. And
Yep.
so again, I'm really looking at this, counting this as a lower high,
Hmm.
uh, to see what what Monday brings. If we take out the low on Monday and we close lower, clearly, we have something that's going to start rolling down. What else can we say? We had an outside reversal today. Can we say that with the inside bar yesterday in isolation, right? If
In
you
isolation, yeah.
take those two bars.
Hmm.
And morning was nice because, I thought, wait, we took out the high of the inside bar. We're going to rally, right? And we rallied
Yeah.
right up to
And
that
we did
50.
rally, yeah.
Yeah, right up to that 59 02 level
58.
that we look at
Yep.
in a second, right?
Yep.
So it did everything was okay. And the pullback on Wednesday was interesting because we came down to the quarter line, which is kind of where we have the structural support. So we came there,
Hmm.
we tested it and ran back up all the way up back to test the 58.92 on Friday. I mean, that's what a swing, right?
Yeah.
And then we sold off without being able to hold above. So that tells you there's something, different happening here. All right, let's take a quick look at the Dow. So Dow, we had this box drawn up about at about there we go. The upper boundary of the box was 44,300.
Man, that box is good. Look at its stop price and then and knocked it below the 216.
Right in the
That's
middle.
really good.
The buffer that it was a little buffer, right?
Hmm.
So it went into the pretty good. It's pretty good when it goes to the center of the buffer, and then that's it. And look, the other thing to notice is we didn't really have any juice to get to 44,300. That would have
Hmm.
been like the maxing, like the red. That should really be the red one, red line. We
Hmm.
didn't quite get there. Barely got to the quarter, turned around, and now, I mean, really, we closed below 216.
Yep.
And just the other day, we were talking about 225. Oh, I think that's what that is. That's the 225 from that low, October
Hmm.
low. And this is 216. So, oh, right about in the middle.
And we
All
were
right.
saying how it looked good because it went above and it was pulling right back and it held. I think in the
Mm-hmm.
midweek update it had held, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now it doesn't look so good.
So now, if we can't really hold above for the Dow futures here, it'd be 41,348 becomes the next support level. And you can see, even without any squares, that's kind of where the old support line is,
Hmm.
structural support.
Hmm.
So we have that to work with. What else do you guys need to know? Oh, the 216 level is 42,591. We can go with that. We had these equilibrium lines, and I remember talking about it here and around here, how we can
Hmm.
keep pressing. When it pops up, like pushes against the equilibrium line, this is just more of a kind of a lesson on the flow, on the go.
Hmm.
And we can hold above, and we eventually lose that momentum, that straight up momentum. Then we kind of settle below that. That's a sign of weakness. That's I was thinking of changes in character. So this is
Sure.
definitely a change in character where we can't hold above it. When it was really like a burning hot bull market, it'll be up here.
Right.
But we couldn't. Rather, we're back in that same level. So now, the main line, the XP line, becomes a support, and if we lose that, then eventually, it becomes well, trending lower.
That's right.
Right? That's what happens. All right, let's take a quick look at the weekly. Then I'll come back to a couple of other things for the S&P.
Hmm.
I'm going to look at another S&P chart, which is a weekly chart, which there we're looking at this 144 degree and 108 week mark.
Hmm.
Here we're up, we're above the 50, but there's well, if you look at the divisions up to 90, I think this is about a 30 degree. Hold on, let me show you guys where that is.
Yep.
Yeah. So we tapped that, and that's something. I mean, we have to notice that, right? That's something. And that 60 is really, I'll show you where that comes from. So if I turn on that green line right there, you can see
Hmm.
we tap that. That's that 60. Okay. So I'll leave it there. That's kind of all I have here, coming off the low in 22. Okay. Now let's take a quick look at the other weekly that we've been working with. And that's this one.
Yeah, that's the killer one, I think.
Yeah, it's a killer one, and it's the cash. So it's an important one to watch. And I normally work up both, but the cash one is really doing pretty well. So I want to see what happens here. We have this circle we've been talking about. And today I can say we definitely touched the circle. Yeah, we can be off by 1 pixel. That's fine. But you can see how close we are.
Mm-hmm.
And going into the next 2-3 weeks, this is going to be critical what happens here. So 58.10 is sort of the level we have to hold above or not. And of course, we're 58.08. So a little below, but is it below enough? I don't know. Probably
I
not.
mean, if
But
we get stuck under that 144, that's when you can get that sort of collapse after it leaves the circle.
yeah, and the fat pitch you're talking about is always, once we get below, and then the daily will give us some kind of a lower high, right?
That's right.
That's where you can just really get those good trades.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what happens. Upside, we have 59.50 as like a one target, and if we get through that, then there's a little buffer up here. But all that has to happen within the next 3 weeks, so we have the timing in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea. Anything you want to add to this? Not much,
No,
right? It's just a weekly, and it's all kind of basic.
it's the tides are shifting, man. That's what the weight of the evidence is starting to stack up that things are changing.
Yeah, exactly. And the key thing is to notice those things.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are going to look at the 30-minute. And the 30-minute has been, stellar this week for some reason. Well, it's stellar every week, actually, but it's extra this week. We came off of 59.02. But, if you look at across, you can see, well, here, you talk about changing character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at this. Now, if you didn't have the squares, this would just be like, oh, this big old consolidation, right? Sideways kind of market, which is true. If you look at the daily, we've been just chopping back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you overlay the square, what happens is we get this 59.2 being the 50% level of the square, the current square. And this red arrow, this false break up in here was pretty much when the Rebel Yell cycle kicked in,
Yes.
right? And you
Mm-hmm.
can see after that, we kind of, right at the Rebel Yell cycle, we slipped below 59.02 and never to come back above it. Well, at least till now, and
And
that flip,
that's the change, right? Is
it's a
that we
good
were
one.
noticing,
Yeah.
right? Because the 1019, it was a Saturday that the Rebel Yell hit, and just look at the price action
Yeah.
going in and then coming out. You can
Yeah.
see how it's subtle, but it definitely changed.
Yeah. So, and yeah, and once we started slipping, you can see it tried a few times to get on top, tested 59.02.
Mm-hmm.
And once we failed 58.86, we just slid right into the 58.14 level. This is really big support. And well, it's a major square, it's 180 degrees up. So from there, we basically went back up to retest 59.02, failed again. Now we're, close below 58.58, which is also an important level. And we broke that little 30-minute trend line.
And
So,
just simply looking at one thing you always go back to, Barry, is we're making lower lows and lower highs.
mhm,
And previous to that false break on 1017, we were making higher highs and higher lows.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Simple
it's as
enough.
simple as that.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly right. And that's how you define trend. And that's what those are the basics of trading, right? Finding trend and trading with the trend.
Mm-hmm.
And all we did with cycles was to find the pivot point of what you just described, making higher highs and higher lows to switching
Right.
the opposite.
Where does that shift? Where's the potential for that shift to occur? I like to call it the
Mhm.
window. Like, where's that
Mhm.
window?
Right. But I'll tell you what, though, this is a pretty good shakeout, between these 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
We came to the high, went back and flushed it all out, came back to tap this again, and then sold off. So there's a lot of shaking out weak anybody in
True.
here.
True.
And that's why we've been just focusing on the swings, and that's been okay so far. All right. So going into next week, obviously 58.58 is the number we have to deal with. It's the closest number. And if we settle above that Sunday night, Monday, we can expect another test of 59.02. But if we can't get above that, then we're probably going to test 58.14. But this time I don't think we're going to go down and just test it or false break it. We're probably going to go down lower, maybe 57.67, or ultimately 57.20 is really good support, right? So
Mm-hmm.
keep that in mind if we slip through 58.14. Those are the next few levels to watch. at least for the short term. Anything you want to add? Or we're good to go.
No, man, I think we're good.
All right.
They got the good levels. They
Mhm.
understand the shifting.
Yeah. Okay. So here we have
Speaking of a good level,
man, rock solid, eh? I wish I just had
what a
like,
fight. What a fight.
yeah, what a fight. And I wish I had like 15 arms so we can like, write options and do all these things just because we have the levels. But
All
you know
right.
what I mean? Like one trader
Yeah,
can only do so much, eh?
sure.
And anyway, for those of you who are trading bonds actively, we called out this high because of the timing cycles. These are all in the old episodes. You could check it out. And we lost the 124 level, and the next support was 119.16 to the 45 level. And the idea was if we lose this level here, 118 and a half, we're probably going to go lower. That was basically the idea. And so far, it's a battle, like you said,
Oh boy.
and so let's see, let's see what happens here. We really have to leave it to the square because if we manage to settle above this 118, let's say 118.10, or let's say 118.08, there you go, easy to remember. If we settle above it, we'll see if we can mount a little bit of a rally and back down. But so far, we've only had 1 or 2 day counter trends and we just sell off. And here we had one day, next day we reverse. So if, Sunday, Monday, we take out the low, today, Friday low, that's probably going to be bearish, goes without saying. And I think if we extend this, we broke this trend line too, the one coming off the low in October. All this time we were kind of managing to hold above it, if you notice. And look at that. I mean, that's a true battle, eh? We got the
45 and the trend line.
All in the same area. So let's watch it and see what happens. Looks like it's going to go. If it doesn't go, immediately, it's definitely going to go at some point because we have a little bias. At least I do. So let's see what happens. For now, we're definitely weak below 19 and a half, and especially the level at the 45, getting stuck below that is not going to be good. That's 118.08 that we just talked about. And remember, once we get stuck below that, all this is overhead, right? So it's not like
important.
It's going to be easy to just, trade down and just right back up. I think it'll be a little bit difficult. Let's take a look at the weekly. Yep, that's right. So weekly, this is why I was like, hey, I'm bearish.
Yeah.
So this score is coming from the other side. This is from the high, back in 2020. The whole point was, did the bear market finish up here, or is it going to continue? And if you look at it, I mean, here's that trend line, yeah, and we broke the upper trend line, at least the nearest one. The fact that we couldn't hold above the 144 and the fact that, or the trend line, that's pretty weak, Ben. I mean, if this was a really good low, I mean, after that kind of a bear, going in for 3 years, 3.5 years, we ought not to be doing this unless this is some other kind of longish bottom or some kind of a sloppy correction. So it looks more like sloppy, and it also looks like we're not quite done yet. So 114 is the next target if we get stuck below the 144, which is 118.08. All right.
Yep.
Not 118.08. What is that? Where is that? No, this is 119 and a half. Okay.
Right.
19 and a half. If you get stuck below that, then it's 114 is the next target. Let's move on to crude, who's grinding it out, man.
It is grinding.
But you were right on the Wednesday, when you said, look, at least we're making higher lows, and we are.
It's sideways with higher lows.
So in the big picture, we're winding up again, but really we need to get moving. We need to get above 73.50, and you guys know the rest of it, so I don't want to take up your time. If you look at the weekly, pretty much the same case as last week because we're inside of last week. So here, I think I told you, if we hold here and we can't get into the box again, we're probably going to consolidate for a while, and it looks like we're going to consolidate until we can wind up back above 73.50. Okay, that's anything you want to add?
No, that market's waiting for news, it looks like.
So we wanted to finish up whatever it's doing.
Now there's an exciting market.
Gold. Now gold, starting to move. Now the weekly hit a couple of targets that we had, and that's probably why we stalled out after that big move. But long as we're above the 116, it's in a strong place. Any resistance might just cause it to consolidate a bit, establish some value in that level, and then to move higher. So looks very good. Trend lines
On
are holding.
on the daily, I did have a 120 by 120 from the May 3rd low.
Ah,
So
okay, okay.
if you go from
Right
that,
here.
yeah, that low right there, yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
squared out at the high. So, like you said, I don't think it means that it's a V. I think, we might chop around like it's been doing the last 2, 3 days.
Yeah, we want to monitor them and really look to see where the big ones are coming. Well, speaking of big ones, this could be. Let me show you the weekly one we just talked about last
Yeah,
week,
that could be big.
right? So this is coming off the 2022 low, which is kind of where the whole dance kind of started. So we
Hmm.
ran up 144 degrees from there. And I had this 27.97 as an upper boundary for it. Can't say that we won't hit it because we tapped the 144 exactly till we stalled out, right? So levels are good. I mean, it's not a small feat to get through an entire square in short order.
No,
We did, and we had this ABCD from here, starting from the takeoff point back in
right?
early 24, and of course we exceeded that. So I'm going to delete it.
Hmm.
It just seems like a lot of these markets hit these lines every on Fridays, and then we have to go. Well, what can we do? We have to wait.
Right.
I
I
mean,
mean, but look
this,
at it when it was heading up on the first square. You spent like 2, 3 weeks at that 72, and
yeah,
then it took off again.
yeah, it broke and took off. Yep. So what is it for next week? Well, I think you guys really need to watch his 27.71 level, which is 144 basis the weekly. Really important. And I think far as support goes, we can go back to the daily, just use the 216 support. That's fine. And the next real grind is really to see if we can hit this 27.97 somehow, either get above or uh, see how we handle that. Are we going to get a bunch of sellers, or is it going to be super tight kind of a consolidation for a week or so? And
The
then
only thing else I wanted to add, Barry, on my weekly, if you take that March low, 90 weeks puts us in like the end of November, like November 23rd.
yeah, that's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
So
Yeah,
we
we could
got,
do that. And remember, this is just the square 144.
mhm.
And there are other squares, so we'll watch them all. But this is just like an alert, right? Hey, we're at some level on a weekly, worthwhile noticing. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's that. Let's move on to copper. Not much to say. We're still sitting on top of the 1 quarter, and this is what we talk. I think we spent a lot of time on the last episode, right, on copper.
Hmm.
So I don't have much to add other than long as we're above that, it's okay. We could even go dip a little lower, it still be fine for copper. But we did have a square correction, which is great. That's solid. So the move is to go back up and test 454 and trade higher. But for now, longer we consolidate here, the stronger it is, right? After we break higher. So it's
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We had a weekly inside bar and monthly with a few days left, 4 days left or so. We had a inside bar so far. So it's
right.
just
There it is.
consolidating.
There's a weekly inside bar.
Yep.
There's one here.
Hmm.
So on the weekly, we talked about 144 being really important level, and we didn't even really care what it was doing, long as it's above 144. It's in pretty good shape. Let's just say that. And last we know, we tapped the half square. We expected some kind of a correction. Looks like we came towards the 144 and let it finish up inside bar here. So if we take high or low of this out next week, we'll have to watch that carefully. You guys know what to do. Yeah, that's it for copper. Let's take a look at the dollar, man. There's another winner. So the dollar is doing amazingly. This low came in on the 120. We talked about it as it was coming down. We called out this low, called out the move to the 50%. And if it holds, we're looking for it to go higher and take out this high back in from April. That's a lot of tall talk, man.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see what happens. But anyway, for now, we're above the 1/3 of the 2/3 of the square, which is very positive that we're holding above that. And we managed to kind of somehow sneak above this line. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Because we have all of this sitting above it, And what best way to get in there than to just kind of sneak in without a lot of drama, just kind of settle in, just
Right,
settle
right.
in, settle in above the 2/3 and then maybe do a grind higher. Let's see, I mean, for now, as long as we're above the 2/3 level, which happens to be, let's say 104, market's strong, right? And if we take that out, if we trade lower for some reason, then 50% is the next big support, 102.75. So I mean, we haven't corrected. If you notice, it's just been like a 1 day little thing.
Yeah.
So this has been very, very, very bullish. So a little bit of a flush or a dip is expected. So watch for that.
And
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say all that strength and all I keep seeing is news about, oh, bricks this, bricks that. They're setting up this different system. The dollar is dead. The dollar's going to be replaced. It's just the last week and a half or 2 weeks of that has just been incessant. And look at that chart.
But isn't that interesting, Ben? Like,
Yeah.
here's the market is just balls to the walls, right? And
Yep.
and the news is talking about
Couldn't be
something.
worse for the dollar.
Yeah, it couldn't be worse. So I think, I mean, who does that target? All the uninformed, right? If you
Yep.
don't know, you kind of go with the news, you're caught.
That's exactly right.
So here, let's see. So let's see what happens. I gave you guys the numbers. But what I wanted to say about 102.75 is when I talk about a correction holding above that, meaning any correction that holds above, meaning it reverses back above that level. That's kind of maybe we should make a little booklet with all the definitions, Ben, one of these days.
Right.
Anyway, that's the idea. We want any reversals, the corrections to finish up above 102.75 and then trade higher. But if we can hold above 104, boy, it's even stronger. But what's a little weird is the fact that we haven't had a decent, like normal correction, right? So, but it's all right. We can live with this.
Mm-hmm.
The Forex is unbelievable. The Forex markets. All right. So here's the weekly, and this is going to sound like a broken record, but we talked about this for a month and a half. How good the
Yeah.
support is.
Yeah.
Not like nobody knew, right? And then we talked about it, going, and how this was a false break, which it wasn't. I mean, which false break was. It wasn't a break that was going to go lower. So it held the 90, ran back up. We had a line here at the 1/3 of the square of 90 that we're using on the weekly, 104 and a little bit of change, 104.30. We ran right up into that, which is almost the midpoint of the triangle. So once we settle inside the triangle back again, we can just correct and move. It just seems reasonable. If nothing else, we can at least go up and tap the upper trend line, right? And that's 105.5, basically. Just take an average spot, here, 105.70 there. So, but also the dollar looks good, and if you can hold above this week's low, it's even better. Anything you want to add? We're good.
Dollar looks good.
Dollar looks good, yeah. And euro looks bad.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, now you guys
It's
see,
fighting at 108 though, isn't
yeah,
it?
108 is a spot, eh? It just gets, somehow that's where the things happen. So let's see what happens. It's like, just like Ben said, it's sort of a fight for now, and it's obviously it's going to settle to one side or the other. And the euro really didn't get a chance to have a decent correction either, like a good run up to 109 or something, and then bounce off of it. So it's been steady selling. So let's see what happens, but we have to go with the trend. So 108, if we can stay below that, I would expect weakness. Above it, I'd expect a test of the 109, or if the test is weaker, then market's just as weak overall.
Yep.
Euro weekly, there's our 108 and the triangle, and we're right in the smack in the middle of it. What can I say? I mean, we closed at 108. So,
I know.
so let's just wait and see which side it wants to move next week. And if you guys want some kind of Forex update, let me know. Maybe we can figure something out, maybe during the midweek.
Yeah, we can put it on the midweek.
If you want something for the Forex.
How about China?
China is holding steady, man.
Triangle. Looks like it's triangling,
Yeah, it's
triangulating.
And that first, all the headlines after that, we sold off, and then there's all kinds of negative stuff. It wasn't enough, and whatever the end result is, we held above 20,380, which was really our level, right?
Hmm.
And we held above, so that's fine. As long as we're holding above, we could maybe do a little dip and move higher. The thing to watch out for is if we somehow settle like that, or even a couple of 3 bars below 2380, then there's a really good chance we go visit 19,450. But as long as we're here, I think there's a higher chance of it testing the 50% level at 21,515. And what else we got here? Natural gas had a hell of a bounce off of this line. How about that?
Yep.
And you're going to cover that?
I'm gonna cover that one today. Yep.
All right, great, great. So that might be
There's a
contract
little
swing.
contract change in there too, but it had a big day. It was up over like 7.5% yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, so what? We didn't change any lines. I mean, we keep talking about the same damn line every week, right?
Right,
So it's
right.
like, so the last comments were, long as it's about 153, we're good. It's bottom. This is all part of a bottoming out process. And we were watching the trend line. Sure enough, man, we sat there for about 4 days, and everybody decided to
Hmm.
buy the new contract, maybe.
Yeah, they did.
That's all I have. And what are you going to cover? You're covering grains and a bunch of things, right?
Yeah, grains, silver, nat gas.
That guy's great, great. And the NQ, Bitcoin, all that stuff
NQs,
coming
of
up.
course, and Bitcoin. Yep.
Let me put it back to you then. We'll
Okay.
take it from there. Well, Ben, the trend line was taken out clean today.
It did. The thing that is interesting to me is that, the one by one was holding perfectly, right?
Hmm.
All this stuff was banging up against and it was getting rejected. And then today is like, it looks like we got a breakout. We're going to go, either make a new high or and run or give us a false break. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden we got the sell off.
Hmm.
And now, as you can see here, we got a little false break.
Yep.
So it's really going to be interesting to see, do we take out the low of today's low on Sunday, Monday, and then roll over? Do we go inside? Do we chop around? Do we push up again? It feels like that was a head fake.
Hmm.
Now, how much of a head fake, we'll find out.
Right.
The two key levels on the chart, as you can see, the half square, 20,000, the full square, 20,838. As long as we're in between, we could chop around. My guess is if we come down here and we take out these lows, we're probably going to take out that half square too. And the big thing, we have a high, we have a low, we have a lower high. If we take out the half square, then we can say, all right, the lower high is in place. And this could
Yeah.
be a really fast move.
Hmm.
I mean, even if it's just an ABCD, you can see where it will go to, right around 17,000. So it's not an insignificant move, even if it just does that. If it's a bigger wave, we could really push.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll watch it and see. Anything you want to add here on the daily?
Well, I think the false break should be noted, and we have to also watch the high and low of today to
Yep,
see if how we handle it next coming 1 or 2 days.
agreed.
Hmm.
Taking out that low would be a bit ominous, but we'll see.
Hmm.
Let's jump to the weekly. The only thing I want to show you, we were talking about how we were banging up against the bottom side of this one by one. Almost did it again today at the high, just couldn't quite make it. But you can see we're getting stuck under here,
Yeah.
and that's significant. It just feels like we're in a little bit of suspended animation before we roll over. But we'll see. Until we do, we haven't. Let's look at the monthly with just a day or two left. Interesting that the the monthly level is similar to the daily level, 20,878, a little bit over that, 20,840. That's a pretty significant level. And if we can't get above it, it looks like we're going to have a second monthly bar up. So only a 2 bar counter trend. If we take out this low of the
Hmm.
previous month,
Hmm.
that would be again another marker on the side of look out. And that's 19,818. So if we take that out in November, then we have a monthly reversal.
Hmm.
The other one I wanted to show is this calendar day we were talking about before, because here you can really see the false break.
Yeah, it's clean.
It's at the half square. We nudged above it today, looked like we were heading up, and then boom, got rejected.
And that's
So
another
again,
interesting thing, the fact that it's at the half square, not at some other random spot.
that's right. And that's 20,625. The signs of change are here. Do we have like confirmation or are we 100% certain? Absolutely not. It's stacking of evidence like we talked about, and the evidence is beginning to mount that we need to pay attention to. Anything else to add here on the NQs?
No, I think it's pretty clear cut. Yeah. But the other thing is, are you gonna look at it weekly next? Or
Yeah,
you have a week?
I have a weekly. Yeah, there's your
Okay.
weekly
I was gonna say in the big picture, because we forget sometimes we get caught up in the day to day, that the high is still in place.
on a 90-week
Yeah.
low to high.
In that sense, we still have to treat whatever that's coming up as a lower high until otherwise, right? So that's something to just really keep in mind.
And remember, this is the market that led us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really interesting because you could say that the S&P and the Dow, which made higher highs, still you could point to that July high as the primary high, and it could end up being just some sort of false break because the Nas, which was leading, and the 90-week cycle is still holding the
Yeah.
high. We'll see. Time will tell us there.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Here's your numbers on Bitcoin. You can see we had hope last week that we were going to settle above and be able to, hold that level, hold that half square, that 67,850. This week we didn't do it. We came down, we pushed up, tried again, and we closed below it. So it looks like more chop here. Grueling consolidation goes on. I mean, we're in what, 7, 8 months now?
Yeah, in the big one. Yeah.
But here's your key numbers, right? 67,850, 62,35. We want to stay above this one. If you're a bull, you want to stay above 67,850. If you're a bear, you need to get below 62 at 35.
If you want to get slaughtered, get in the middle.
That's right. Like, I mean, you can see, look at all this price action that's been in here for months. So that's that. Then let's just take a quick look at the monthly since we're almost at the end of the month. There's your key number for the monthly, 67,420, call it. We want to close above that because that's the half square. And it's trying.
Yeah.
It'll probably watch it, knowing the way these things work, it'll probably close right on that number and to
Yeah.
keep us guessing for another month.
Good trend line, eh? Just
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The trend line here has been really, really good. But you can see bigger picture zooming out. I mean, look where we're doing all this garbage
hmm
right near. It's kind of like gold was a couple months back. It's all near the highs.
hmm
So it's not bearish. It's just if you're trying to trade this thing short term, you've just been ground down into powder over the last 7 months because it has not been very friendly for trend trading. But let's talk about the commodities.
Yeah. It's been a
The
while.
softs. Yeah, the softs are correcting, consolidating, still working on their sideways and going. So there's nothing to do with sugar, cotton, cocoa, coffee yet. We're gonna review the grains. The grains did some interesting things this week. We're gonna review silver. Everybody's been talking about silver, so we're gonna review silver, and we're gonna dive into Nat Gas as well. Let's start off with the grains. The weakest one of them all has been wheat, but this is what I think wheat's doing. We made a nice push up after we triangulated the low here, squared out, started making, higher lows and higher highs. We squared out here, and now I think we're doing this little ABCD down. And look, if we actually do this ABCD, Barry, what we do is we create a nice little false break with these lows here,
hmm
and we can still hold the trend line. So I don't think wheat's ready yet, but I think you got to watch it because the other two in the group are starting to move and move out. And this one usually leads and or follows. They kind of move together. So see if we can come down and complete the ABCD, see if we get a little false break here, and then we look for reversal. And we want to see a close and getting on top of this sort of 577, 578 area. That's really important.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and that's your daily. Let's go to the weekly. On the weekly, you see we had an inside, we pushed up off the lows. We had an inside bar, and now we've had 2 weeks down. A reversal next week would be a really, really good sign. Again, if you look the original, the first high off of that was right there. So this is all still good structure. It's just not screaming out of the low. I mean, it's not doing like this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sideways sort of, we pushed up and now we're grinding. You can see a little triangle forming here. But that's okay because that could be your first push, and then this is your second, and we want to catch that reversal on a weekly basis for sure because that's pretends a bigger move. Let's take a look at the monthly as well.
I was just going to ask you,
Here's
why? Because that's looks like kind of a legit three drives, doesn't it? I mean, normally you'd want a little bit more
here,
gapping, a little bit
one,
more.
two, three,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it's there.
and we've had two monthly up bars.
Hmm.
We're pulling back. In this bar, we're down near the lows of this month's bar, but barring any
What's
really
the
big,
level of the high of the inside bar right there?
this one,
Hmm.
560,
Okay. So if we can hold about that, we're in great shape.
in really good shape.
Hmm.
If you're looking monthly basis, we want to get on top of 607. That
Yeah.
gives us the signal that okay, we're in good shape here.
Makes
Because
sense.
if we
Yep.
clear that, then we can get going.
Hmm.
Timing wise, the interesting things, I love these time counts on a monthly basis. High to low here was 28 months. High to low here was 28 months.
Mm.
So I think we've got a good counts, good geometry here at this low. It's just a matter of like, how's the movie gonna play out, getting us out of here. Anything else you want to add on wheat?
Well, just that, we watch it every couple of weeks. We talk about it, but it's really about being patient till the setup shows up, till time is ready for it to move. So
Yep,
we're just stalking until then.
that's it. And that's why I say the daily's not quite ready yet. We got to see a reversal and a sit on top, clear this 577, 578 area to
Mhm.
sort of get the all clear here. All right, let's go to corn. Surprisingly, corn and soybeans are in better shape than wheat because we haven't been saying that all year long. So here's corn. Had the low, nice push up, broke this downtrend line from that's the Russian invasion of Ukraine highs. So we broke that, came back, tested it, right? Tested it in here, and then we had a nice reversal. So to me, again, there's your first push, there's your first big pullback. We could be catching, one of those fast moving sort of second push higher waves. And we even had a nice little pullback today to the trend line. This to me looks like it's good and ready to go. And you'll see that when you look at the higher time frames. Why? But you got your low, you got a high, you got a higher low, and now we're pushing up. Taking out this high up here, which is around 433, will be confirmation that we're on the move. But you see, we didn't even get back to the full square here, Barry.
Yeah, yeah.
Showing
Looks
that
good.
that
I mean,
shows
from the
strength.
August low, it's very constructive. Look at it.
Hmm.
Just
Yep.
right.
I liked this is the move I liked this week, right? Because we were having this sharp pullback, and I say, okay, we're going to get a test. Let's see if we get a higher low, and then look how
Hmm.
we came out when it
Hmm.
reversed.
Yeah,
It was a nice push.
yeah.
All right, let's look at the weekly. You can see
Even
what we're
better.
yeah, you see what we're battling at now. Now we had a weekly reversal this week, which is
Hmm.
nice. So we had a high inside bar and then one down bar, and now we reversed this week. So here 412 is the key. And look where
Hmm.
we closed, 415 and three quarters.
Hmm.
Above 412, it's good. We've had our first pullback, and then we're ready to go. That to me is very nice. And again, broke a trend line from early in 23, latter part of 22, came back and tested it, and now we're pushing again. Let's look at the monthly. So in the monthly, we've gotten two up bars now. Provided we don't collapse next week, we have our second up bar
Hmm.
progressing nicely. I did this little time projection off of this. We had back in '05, we had one big push up, we had a pullback, and then we had another push to the highs,
Hmm.
and it was 36 months low to high. if this low holds, this would be, there's your low, there's your first push up, here's your pullback, higher
Mhm.
low. The next push, 36 months takes us into, August of 2027.
That sounds just about right, cycle
So,
wise.
yep.
Hmm.
So if we get similar time counts, that's what we're looking at.
Hmm.
So we'll watch and see. But that's a nice picture on corn. This is,
And that 225 is really powerful too.
yep, that was a low to low. Anything else you want to add here on corn?
No, we're good. Again, some great numbers there. My God, look at the 180, 225.
Yeah, it's pretty harmonic.
We definitely have some kind of a low. So,
Yeah, and now let's see how it plays out. How it
mhm.
plays out. The biggest confirmation for me on a monthly basis is we get above this 463, because
Right.
then we're sitting on top of this whole like 6-year consolidation.
Mm.
So
Yeah, good.
now you got the markers there. All right, let's do beans. Soybeans is similar to corn, that we got a low that we triangulated, nice push up, pull back, and then this week we got this reversal up. Key level here, this full square, we want to get on top and stay on top of that, and that's at roughly 1034. But it's the same principle, right? You have a low, you have a first push, you have a higher low on the pullback. This, if the leg materializes, this is the one you want to catch.
Mhm.
It's the big move. Let's jump into the weekly. There's your visual on the weekly. So we reversed this week, right? This is an up
Mhm.
week, capturing this half square. And on the weekly, it's right at about 1060.
Okay.
We get a close above 1060, then we open up the full square. Decent time counts in here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another 225 low to low. Interesting how two separate grains did the same low to low count. Let's look at the monthly. So monthly basis, we're right near important support, and that's 983. As long as we stay above that on a monthly basis, we're in good shape, because that means this false break that we were talking about is real, and we had a reversal. We do have a down bar, so we got to watch and make sure we don't get stuck below 983. If we do, then it's going to be, if we take out those lows, it's not going to be over. So 983 monthly basis, monthly close is really important. Anything to add here on beans?
No, nothing to add. I think you covered everything. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Let's go to the shining star the last few weeks, silver. Here's your daily on silver. The most important prices now, 32.50 is the full square.
36.
36, yeah, 36.27 is the half square. On a daily basis, from the 729 low, which is right here, July 29th, right there, the higher low, right? Not the false
Mm.
break low. It went from the higher low to here. We did a 60 by 60
Mm.
into that high. Doesn't mean we're going to reverse and collapse or, huge pullback. It means we're getting something like this, right? Consolidation, correction. Maybe it just needs to burn some time here. As long as we're above 32.50, all is good
Hmm.
daily basis. So that is your key level on a daily basis on silver, 32.50. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly, you got a little tighter. 32.05 is the full square, 34.32. We pushed above, couldn't hold it. And again, it may be that, we're getting some timing. It may be that we need to burn some time. Maybe we got to consolidate a little more, because this is a pretty massive move we had from here, in April to that high. I have some timing. Oh yeah, from this low here, if we do 90 weeks, it puts us at November 30th. So November 30th might be a decent time to watch, see what happens into that 90
Right.
on a weekly basis. Let's look at the monthly. Monthly 30, just under 38 is the number.
Okay.
That's the next milestone monthly basis. We want to get up there and get on top of that, because then you can see, this little cluster from 2011 is where we'll be attacking next. But that's a nice looking chart, isn't it?
Very nice chart. I was just thinking that.
Consolidation,
Yeah.
breakout,
Mm.
pullback,
Very
and
clean.
now we're pushing up. No second up bar. So
Great
all in
chart.
all, silver looks good. Does it mean it's going to keep ripping straight up? No, there's probably a pause coming. We're seeing a little corrective motion where it rallies and then it gets sold, and then it rallies and it gets sold. Its big brother gold has been doing that and progressing nicely. And I think you're kind of looking at the same thing for silver.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of buy weakness towards support until we get that breakout, because if you're chasing it up and it doesn't break out, you're going to have another pullback like we're seeing,
Mm-hmm.
whether intraday or day to day. Anything else to add here on silver?
No, we're good. Good
All
job.
right, let's go find the Widowmaker. Everybody loves Nat Gas. All right, so part of this
When it's
bar,
ripping.
yeah, that's true. When they're on the right side of it, part of this bar is the contract changeover, but
Mm-hmm.
it was up 7%. I think I was looking at the old contract, like 350. Right in here is where it would be on the old contract. So still a nice big move
Yeah.
out of this pullback. And look where that low is on that pullback, Barry.
Perfect.
Right on the half square.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want to see, right? It hit that half square, did an inside bar, and then boom, gone.
Textbook.
Yep. Using the continuous contract and the December contract right now is what we're seeing. The next big level is 342. And you can see why. It's not only is it the half square, it was the highs here, it was the highs over here. So it looks like that's where the next battle is going to be taking place.
Yeah.
On any pullbacks, we want to stay on top of the full square, which is 282. As long as we do that, we're in good shape. One of the things that way a long time ago, Barry, when we were looking at technical analysis and you were helping me, and remember those the trend lines, you want to see the increasing angles on them. I mean, and that's what this is doing, right?
Yeah.
You had a flat one here, a little sharper here, and now you're getting really sharp.
Yeah. Exactly.
And this is a sign of momentum coming into a market.
Mm-hmm.
We know the levels, we know when things will kick in, but everything is shaping up with a really long base. I mean, almost a 2-year base. If this thing doesn't break out till early 25, you got a 2-year base, which is, if you know ballistics, the bigger the base, the bigger the move, the more powerful the move.
Bigger the bang. Yep.
Yep. So let's go look at the weekly, because the weekly's interesting in that
Starting to break.
we're starting to break that triangle. Right? We peaked above here, and now we're pushing above here. The key numbers are right there. Half square is 271, so we want to stay on top of that. Full square is 371. And if we get on top of that, you can see now we're sitting on top of this entire 2-year roughly consolidation, which will be big. It'll be kind of like this, right? See, when we came up out of here, this consolidation here, we came up, tested it, and then gone. And this is what the springboard this could be, right? We come up, pull back, stay on top of this, meaning on top of all this, and then you can get a massive move. All right, we have an up bar and we're poking out of the triangle.
There you go.
Low to high was 45 here, low to low 45 here. I think the low is good. Now it's just, how are we going to come out of here? Yeah. But you can, on a monthly basis, you can see how big the numbers are. Once we get out of this triangle, 488 is the next square.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as you can see, it can move quickly, like in a month.
Yeah.
And that's Nat Gas. Anything else to add on gas?
No, it's good. I think this is very early, we're giving early warnings here.
Well, that's all I got on the commodity side. What's a good topic for today, Barry? What's top of mind for you?
Well, usually it's managing trades.
What we haven't spoken about is risk. We haven't spent a lot of time on risk. So briefly talk about when you trade, whenever you enter a trade, there's uncertainty, right? There's a chance you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you psychologically, how do you deal with the fact that, okay, I don't know whether I'm going to make money or not, and I could lose money on any single trade.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle that psychologically in terms of risk management?
Obviously, it's a big topic, right? I mean, more than 5 minutes, but let's see what we can color one side of it anyway. But, well, the topic is good because I just sent the text this morning to my son who's trading, and we got into some topic, and I was telling him, hey, I keep reminding you to go back and test things because that's the key. Because usually what happens is, he's fairly new to trading, and he'd get understand the theoretical and say, oh no, I get it, I understand. And I said, well, yeah, that's great, but now you have to experience it. Otherwise, there's an entire experience that you're missing just thinking that you understand how something might work. So we went back to talking about how you can do like blind forward testing, just to get used to it. And God knows, we've done plenty of days or hours, probably years worth of stuff, back
Yeah,
testing
yeah.
things.
Yep.
And that adds. So the reason I got into that is because you want to be confident when you have to put on a trade, and you want to be clear headed, and you don't want to have a bias necessarily, and you don't want to be stressed for sure. And and that should leave you in sort of some kind of a flow state where you're allowing the market to tell you what's happening. And this lines up with a lot of the things that Mark Douglas used to say. And for that, to get to that state, the problem is, we can't get there just by mentally wanting to be there. It gets there when your system is
Right.
adapted to that. You get used to it. The only way to get used to it is through experience. So getting back to, well, what does all that have to do with risk? Is I think you can really understand risk once you're relaxed about the entire process. Or another way to put it, when you trust the process. And even another way to put it would be when you trust your actions in the marketplace.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, you have to be able to trust the next thing you're going to do is something towards your benefit. Does that make sense, Ben? You know what I'm
Absolutely. I mean, and you know
right?
what? It's great because somebody today asked me, like, how do you learn about these squares? I'm interested in learning about them.
Mm.
How long does it take? And I said, well,
Mhm.
the most important thing is you have to spend time watching the market live, how it deals with the squares,
Right.
how price acts when time is hit, how price acts when the full square or the half square. I said you cannot get that in reading a book,
Yeah.
right? The,
Mhm.
the book gives you the knowledge, but you have to see it to believe in it, to have confidence in it, and to be able to execute it.
Exactly. And in a way, we're kind of weaving sort of a high level answer to this, because you could easily say, well, risk should be this part of your potential profit, blah blah blah, and give you a little formula, right? But really, if you want to be in it for the long haul, you really want to be comfortable in what you're doing, and you have to want to be able to trust. Because what's the point of trading if you're stressed out all the time? I don't, unless that's your lifestyle, right?
Right.
Right? I mean, so that's the idea. So you want to be comfortable first of all, and that's the sort of the gateway to understanding risk and being able to allow the market to speak to you, because market's always talking to you because the feedback is constantly there. All right. So moving from that, so when you test, what are you testing? Well, you got to test your whatever the system that you come up with. And we always talk about like whatever the system. And it literally that, to trip you into a trade, it doesn't take much. It could be a trend line break, it could be a moving average, it could be an indicator. It really doesn't matter, but you need to isolate exactly when do you do that. So one of the things we do and post is how to trade along the fuse line. So that's just one level, and there's some patterns we look for around around that price. And it's easy to trade that when the patterns in place, just like other patterns, triangles. We're looking at the natural gas, so there's different patterns. So you can pick any system there. You got divergence systems. You have, reversal systems. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter really, because what you're looking for is something consistent and something that you understand and something that you can handle. So, for example, you're not trading something that requires huge stops, and because
Like
that's
natural gas.
yeah, like natural gas, exactly. And if you want to trade natural gas, you better find a methodology and a time frame that allows you to do that within
Yeah,
your budget. That's
that's
kind of how
right.
you have to look at it.
Mhm.
So so when I say, well, you got to go test your system, I mean, I'm assuming all of that is understood, right? You want to be able to put together something. I mean, there are tons of books, lots. God, I don't even looked, but I'm sure there are lots of YouTube videos about different systems. So once you get one, then what we talk about is, I mean, trading off of squares can also be a system. Obviously, I mean, Gann did it. He didn't use a
Mhm.
whole lot of other things. So you can use squares and trade off of that, but then you're trading against the, well, lots of ways to trade it, but you can trade against the support and resistance levels. You can trade the trend within that. But whatever the case is, you want to go back and test because that gives you an idea of what kind of probabilities you have with the system. And then, or you'll also understand what's the average win and the average loss. And we talk about systems and getting in a lot, but the other part of it is, trade management would be, when do you get out? How do you exit the trade? So we can save that for another day. So risk we're talking about is really the entry risk, right? Because once you enter, and if we move up enough, let's just say, something equal to your stop or double your stop, then you can just pull your stop up to break even or half, you know what I mean? Something less than your full stop that you had at the entry. And you can manage it that way. So I think it comes back to that how comfortable you are writing that check, like you were saying, Ben, to say, I don't know if this is going to be a win or loss, but I have to write it anyway. And what you
That's
understand,
exactly right.
right? And what you understand through testing is, well, 7 out of 10 times, I'm going to be okay. I get to at least a break even and plus a couple of home runs within the 7. And 3 of them, I probably get stopped out. Maybe one full stop, maybe one half, maybe another one, some percent of the full stop, or all 3 full stops. And so 7 out of 10, you're going to win, and 3 might be duds. And once you know that, you're not going to be hesitating when the trade shows up, because the other thing is you have to act right away so you get the best price, right? The signal shows up, you act, you get the trade in, put the stop in, and then you manage that, and that's where your risk comes in. The risk is highest right after entry. Once it starts to move, if it goes against you, well, you're out, very quickly.
You
If
got
it
your
doesn't,
stop and you get out.
yeah, exactly. And if it's the other way, then you just manage it, try to pull it up to 0 as much fast as you can, practically, right? So anyway, wrap it up. The whole thing, I think the gateway is really having the knowledge of how the market that you trade behaves and how your system behaves. So that gives you a certain level of comfort to hang out with it every day, to use it, to lean on it when you might not know what's happening. At least okay, I'm getting another signal, I have to buy here. Well, you put the buy because in your head, well, the last, if I do 10 of them, 7 are going to be fine. So that's
Right.
the idea,
Well, listen, we could spend a lot of time on this, but we're going to wrap it up for this week. Everybody, listen, have a great week. Please like, share, ring the bell, help us grow the channel. You've done a great job this year, and have a great weekend, and we'll talk next week.
Thanks, Ben. Great job. And we'll see you guys midweek and again next Friday.
Take care.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
weekend. Bye bye.